Welcome to Garden Plants with Jim Putnam. Let's talk Pancake Arborvitae. Pancake Arborvitae is a Thuja Occidentalis, which is our eastern arborvitae. This was apparently a sport of bowling ball arborvitae, if you're familiar with it, but it has an extremely unique growth habit. It actually comes up and has kind of a flat top on it, and then it's kind of curved around the sides. It will only reach about 18 inches in height, and then about as wide as you want to let it get. So it's easily maintainable at whatever width ultimately you want to maintain it. In the summertime, it has kind of this sage green coloration that it has right now. We're shooting this in June, and then as it matures late summer, as the nights cool off, it takes on a little bit more of a blue hue. We're down here in Ranburne, Alabama filming this, and this is one that we're actually taking home with us. This is a young crop behind us, very soft to the touch, great all year interest plant. So this is a named variety of our eastern arborvitae, or native arborvitae to the eastern United States. These are hardy in zones 4 to 7 is what I think you're going to see on tags. Almost surely it'll go up into zone 3. Most of these Thuja Occidentalis are actually native up into zone 3, and then likely down into zone 8. So sun or shade wise, you're going to put this in the full sun in the colder areas, and then down in my area, by the time we get to 7B, 8A, it would probably benefit from a little bit of afternoon shade. Does need some direct sun on it, but a little bit of afternoon shade would be wise. And again, it's going to take the shape of about an 18-inch tall, flat topped, and 4 feet wide or so conifer. Then it's just a perfect little landscape plant for so many spaces where we need low growing evergreens. This is a perfect plant to create a border around something like a sidewalk or any kind of bed where you need that kind of low evergreen piece that's in the front of the bed, and then other things would step up from there. It'd also make a fantastic plant if you have a very low windows, like if your house is, built on slab and it's very low to the ground. It's the perfect foundation plant for that. Another great container plant. I mean, so many of these conifers are just great for containers and can be left in there for several years. Great mass planted, probably work pretty well on a bank or a slope. And then for us in our garden where we have drifts of one, we'll put one of these in, this one that we're carrying home, and find a spot where it really can shine in the garden. Pancake is heat tolerant, and it's very sun tolerant. This is in the Southern Living Plant Collection, and for them to put a conifer in the collection, it has to be heat tolerant, it has to be humidity tolerant, it has to be, all of those kinds of things, and it has to be at least reasonably drought tolerant. They're tolerant of a lot of different kinds of soil, Thuja Occidentalis are, and become pretty drought tolerant in time, but there's definitely something you need to monitor. When you put them in the ground, you want to water them well, keep them watered, keep checking on them and keep them watered that first year, but let them dry out between waterings. Once they're well established, if you go into abnormally dry times, all my conifers are one of the first things I'm going to check, because again, they're not great at letting you know. They'll get browning on the interior and lose some foliage down inside. If you see that happening in your containers, if you've planted this in a container and you're 18 months, 24 months later, and it's got some thinning and some browning inside of it, it's probably telling you that it's outgrown that container and it needs to go into a slightly larger container. Really low maintenance plant. I don't think you're going to have to do any pruning on this unless it gets a little wider than you want. And if you did that, I would do it in the late winter, early spring. You can just shear the outside of it. I don't think you'll need to do any shearing on the top of it. And honestly, I would be careful ever pruning back a whole lot off the top of this. I think in the full sun conditions, you could get a little burn on the inside of it because that interior foliage isn't used to the full sun. So just keep that in mind. If you do have to shear it the top off, which I don't think you'll have to do it on a cloudy day, or a day when it's not the middle of its full sun, 95-degree day. We fertilize everything in the garden once a year with a slow release fertilizer, just some organic fertilizer. It probably doesn't even need that, honestly. This is a native, easy plant. Very pest resistant overall. Again, let it dry out between waterings, and that's it. This is Pancake Arborvitae from the Southern Living Plant Collection.